Here's an example of how pace is flooding the virtual memory whenever, at least I'm thinking when companions change weapons, because, and I know it's kind of a side note, but when I had Curie previously, and I noticed that I had got a stack flood from, I think it was Pace or Pack Attack, and it had like this damaged limb or something. I know that had nothing to do with changing weapons, but I did notice this, and what I think is happening. And I'm sorry, I'm kind of running on because I'm doing, and I apologize, I'm doing multiple things at one time, and I'm trying to squeeze all this in. So basically, the symptom is Pace seems to be flooding the Papyrus virtual memory with a ton of stack frames, and it's all the same call. In the previous instance, I think it was like on damaged limb or something like that. In this case, it is on equip and on unequip events that are being called whenever I put Ada or Curie in the Robot Workbench and swap her weapons out. And I'm going to show you where this is. Here's an example of it I just did, but I'm going to show you how this, kind of like what is happening. So let's go ahead and fire this off. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and exit this for now, and because I actually ran the program with the game running, but we're going to do this differently. So let me exit out, let it kind of close everything out, and then we're going to fire this off again. All right, let me update this list. Eventually I'll get this stuff auto-updated. Okay, so here we go. And I noticed this when I had Ada. And I think when I had Ada, she had a claw, an automatic laser, and I wanted to swap that out. And I don't think it matters what weapon it is. I think it's pretty much any weapon you swap out. And I wanted to swap her out with some automatic lasers. And then I went to save my game right after I did that, and I noticed that I had a stack dump situation. So I needed to take a look at that and see what was causing the stack dump. And apparently it was where Pace had called 500 or 600 on equip, unequip, just instances of a script. Now what I think is happening, this is what I think is happening in a script. I think when you change a weapon, it's creating these stack frames, but it can't flush the stack frames out unless it's a recursive call somehow. It can't flush the stack frame out unless let me see if the previous one's cleared out. So it'll let me know when I create a save game. Okay, we're good. And they do clear out. These are not permanently stuck in a game save. So let me show you what I mean. I'm going to add Curie here to the Robot Workbench. We're going to go into her arm, and we're going to change her weapon. So let's change her weapon to a minigun. Okay, a little bit of a stutter there. Let's change it back to a Gatling gun. We're going to do this like 3 times, because let's just kind of pretend we're looking at different weapons. We want to see how they look, so we're kind of checking different weapons out. Okay, let's go back to a minigun, and then one more time. When I just chose 3. All right, so she now has a Gatling laser, which is what I want. So now we're going to exit out. Okay, so now we've exited out. Now let me save my game.
Suspended stacks detected.
Okay, so yeah, that's kind of my funky robot voice. That's just me, man. You gotta ignore that. Okay, but so you can see that previously when I saved my game, it did not pick up, my software didn't pick up suspended stacks. Now it does. So if we go take a look, let's refresh this. You can see down here in the suspended stack column that there are now suspended stacks in the Papyrus. So let's bring up the log detail, which is a little section of the log that is associated with that particular moment in time, that timestamp. If we go in and we take a look at let's do it like this. Instead of doing that, let's do this first. Okay, so you can see where the very first occurrence of the suspended stack happened. It was up here. and it looks like pace is the one that triggered it, which triggered it here. And then you can see where it's got on item equipped, unequipped, see, equip, unequip, and okay, so yeah, you can see where that is. So now if we go in and if we look at just the pack attack, we're going to filter out by text. So we're going to look for PAMPC and we're going to look for pace in that text. You can see where down here there were 166 paces. Now previously I had like 500, and the one previous I did a test just to kind of make sure I could replicate it, and I can absolutely replicate it. There were 500, and then another one there were 1,000. There were like there was like 10, like 1,010 I think. Okay, and they're all the same thing. So if I take a look at on item equip, you can see that it's just nothing but this. Equip, and the rest are going to be unequips. See, these right here are all going to be unequips. Now, if I give it time, I'm going to give it time to settle. So to show you that it, oops, not that. So to show you that it does clear. Okay, so we're going to let it clear. All right. So, you know, we're going to save it again. And now I believe it has cleared out. So let's take a look. Let's go in and let's refresh this. Let's see if we can bring up this game save. Hopefully I can. I've been working on this for a while. Parsing text strings has given me a complete headache. Okay, so see, we're down to one script instance. So it looks like it cleared itself out just fine. Let's see if I can do it with this. I should be able to. I mean, logically, I think this will work. So let me see if I'm correct in that assumption. Okay, good. So you can see where, let's see, there's 198 stacks and 242 frames at that time. As a matter of fact, let me check this one again to make sure that I'm looking at the right part of the data. Yeah, the hardest part I had with this particular program is linking all of this data together into one interface and trying to make it consistent across the board. Trust me, this has been a this has been a journey. Okay, so you notice there's not a lot of stack frames on this particular game save. However, in this game save where there were too many stack frames, and it gave a warning by dumping the stack to show what may be causing it. Basically, I think that what they wanted to do is try to catch recursive calls. They wanted to catch, because you've got Papyrus scripting that is supposed to be multitasking, which means any script fragment can run at any particular time. And believe me, trying to debug multi-threaded times all these threads, it's a challenge. But that's technically what I think that Papyrus dump was for, is to actually show, hey, there is a recursion problem, and you have a big enough recursion problem, you're going to fill up the stack, and then it's gonna crash with I think a 409. But you can see where whenever I changed the hand weapons, it literally just stacked up a ton of frames, and the more I changed it, the more this happened. I can't really say, based on looking at that data, why it happened on Curie when I was dealing with those ghouls throwing bombs and all that kind of stuff. I can't really tell. I have no data to really give me any type of, you know, even a logical conclusion, or even a guess as to why that would happen. But I can see that when I change the weapons, that it's stacking up these calls, and I'm guessing it doesn't necessarily process them. Now maybe it does. Let me get a complete thought here before I try to fill in the gaps. I was initially thinking that whenever you change the weapons, it's stacking up these calls, and then once you exit the workbench, it now processes these calls. But I don't believe that's true now. I think whenever you equip a weapon or you unequip it, that is when it throws this on the stack. And by doing it quickly, which you can do, by doing it quickly, which you can do in the Robot Workbench, as opposed to constantly swapping them out in the player's inventory, or in the companion's inventory, which would be something to test next, I think. I'll put that on the list of things to check. By doing that, it may give me the same result. But I'm not sure. I just wanted to document this to show that pace, for some reason, is... I mean, it seems like you should have a single on-equip, on-unequip, but it's a slew. So just by doing it 3 times, I stacked up 242 that was in the game save. Now that, if it's processing it, I'm assuming, I'm going to have to assume correctly, that it processed some of the stack frames while I exited the workbench, or during the workbench process, it was processing those stack frames, if that's the case. You know, if it clears them out while you're in the workbench, as opposed to waiting to when you exit the workbench. So I've got that. I've got that particular period of time it could clear stack frames out. Also, from the time I exited the workbench to the time that I had the game save, there is a fraction of a time where you're talking probably milliseconds or microseconds, where there is a chance stack frames could have been processed. So I have a feeling it was more than 242. Yeah, I have a feeling it's more than that. So I'm not sure why pace, and pace seems to be the culprit. If I looked at it again, if I took a real quick look again, I don't think Pack Attack had that many. Yeah, I can't recall right off, but I don't think it was that many. Let's go to the bottom here so we can get a total. Yeah, see, Pack Attack only had 4, but pace seems to be the culprit. That seems to be the one that's flooding the stack frame. So I don't know if that's normal behavior. If it's not, that could be part of the problem why script intent, because, you know, that may be part of the reason that those particular mods, you know, like Pack Attack mods, are considered script intensive, because they do have a tendency to flood the virtual memory when, like I say, I personally wouldn't think that's expected behavior. There should be a single event for equip, unequip, unless for some reason the workbench, the robot workbench, is sending those events. So I don't know if Pack Attack is getting a single, Pace is getting a single on-equip, unequip event, and then magnifying it through a series of code segments that it uses, or if it's getting multiple events from the Robot Workbench. If it's getting multiple events, then I wonder if it's stuttering because it's trying to unequip everything in that robot list, as opposed to just what I'm actually selecting as that hand weapon. I wouldn't believe that would be the case. I wouldn't think a programmer would do something like that. Believe me, I've seen some pretty wonky stuff in my lifetime, so I wouldn't believe that would be something normal. I don't know about QA, you know, the actual testing of it. That would be a discussion for like another time, because I do have some interesting interesting observations about just the QA of this kind of stuff, and I'm talking about the base game, not necessarily mods in general. But yeah, that's what I wanted to document and show you. So pace seems to be flooding. Now, if that system, if the Pack Attack or pace system is doing this on a regular basis, then that could be the, like I say, that could be the cause of, you know, this idea, or this, you know, kind of acknowledgement, or I don't want to say acknowledgement, observation from the community that it is a script intensive mod. Because I believe that in some cases it is, in some cases it isn't. So it may be inadvertently script intensive by flooding stack frames. I'm not sure. But I just wanted to document this so everybody could see it and see what's happening. It does clear out, so it's not like a permanent issue. It's not permanently in the game save, at least not, you know, if the stack frames clear out, it's not there, because you can see where the game save finally, and it just took a matter of seconds, but it does flood. So if it floods in one instance, could it potentially flood in others? Previously it did with an on-damage thing, so yeah, just wanted to show how this happens, and yeah, I'm going to hop on and do some more testing, and yeah, I'll if I find anything, I will post back in a bit.